In part A, we showed the different solubility properties of a set of alcohols in water versus hexane, in other words, in a polar versus a non-polar solvent. However, the observations were not very dramatic and might have been sometimes a little difficult to tell apart. So, in this example here, we're going to show with colors something a little more dramatic and also show a possible way of separating components, which is through the process called extraction. So over here I had two test tubes. In each one I put 40 drops of, first one, methylene blue, which is aqueous, and the other one was iodine. You can tell it's 1%. Iodine itself is not very soluble in water, so we did about as much as we can, and there's about 40 drops of that in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test them against a well-known solvent, kerosene. It's a very uh, well-known non-polar solvent. All right, I'm going to put 20 drops of kerosene in each one of these. Actually, maybe I'll put 40 drops. All right, so let's do that. Okay, as you can see, I added about 40 drops of kerosene to the methylene blue solution and 40 drops of the iodine solution. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir them vigorously. I can do that with a stir bar, or what I can do is I can hold the test tube by the mouth strongly and just flick it with my fingers to generate a mixing motion. I can try to mix them as much as I can, and that way they don't splash all out of place. And let it rest a little bit. Now let's do the same thing with the iodine one. Let's see what happens. Let it rest. And what we can see is, as of now, what is happening is the methylene blue is staying in the bottom and the kerosene on the top with no visible changes. But in the case of the iodine, what you can see is that now you have the iodine in the bottom, but there is a pink layer on top. In other words, some of the iodine went into the kerosene phase and generated a different color, like a pink color. Let's wait for a little bit longer and see what happens. Okay, we're coming back here, and again we can still see that the methylene blue remained blue in the bottom and non colorless on the top. And you can see where the iodine, where the kerosene is giving me a pink layer on top. There is still iodine dissolved in the bottom layer. We expect the bottom layer to be aqueous because water is denser than all of these nonpolar solvents. But what we would say is that most likely some of the iodine was actually soluble in the kerosene, and when it did so, it generated a different color in kerosene than it has in water. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that demonstration, and let's go back to the rest of our exercise.